On day 4, we set out from Cribs Creek and made our way to Carmanah Lighthouse by the second beach access and continued through past Bonilla Point, past Vancouver Point. We were able to continue by the beach and made our way to Walbran, where we ended for the day. Usually I start off my videos with what I've been up to, and there's so much that I have been up to. I don't even know where to start. I didn't get to do any knitting this winter, which is so unusual. So just before spring, I did crack into this knitting project. And they'll be ready just in time for next winter. There are these fun gnome socks that I picked a pattern up for, and I'm really enjoying knitting these. So I'll show you the finished product when those are ready. I've done a ton of skiing this year. Interestingly though, I didn't get to really use my icon pass to its fullest. I did the math, I needed to go about 8.5 times, and I only hit 6 times at an icon hill, really because the weather has been just so terrible this past year for skiing. But I did get to do 3 other non-icon hills in Vermont and at least 4 other hills in Ontario that I will do a little feature on at some point. I've also been doing some travel over March break, some other hikes, and planning future hikes and camping trips. This year should be a good one for that. Luckily, we don't have to depend on snow. So now we're caught up a little bit, and we'll get into day 4 of the West Coast Trail. We chose to take the second beach access closest to Carmanah Lighthouse because of the sea lions. The ladder from this access point is very steep, and we discovered has some slugs on it, which were a little more of a hazard. Climbing on our way up to Carmanah. Once we got up there, there were some more stairs, which were kind of steep and wide, and then we made it to the top where the lighthouse was. We made it to Carmanah Lighthouse. And this marked where I ended my journey back in 2019, going northbound, and when my hiking partner at that time had to be rescued. It was a really strange feeling reaching Carmanah Lighthouse because of 2019. I was filled definitely with emotions and sense of success for at least completing now all segments of the trail. But of course, I wanted to continue and finish it in one entire attempt. We spent a little bit of time at Carmanah Lighthouse, checking out the grounds, the lighthouse. There are some bones on display and a really cool garden and a wonderful view. And then we set off again towards Walbran. The beach hike from Carmanah Lighthouse to Walbran is deceptively long because you can see where it ends in a sense, but it just keeps going and going. And because it's sandy, it definitely adds a new challenge to the hike when you've got to pack, sinking and then going back up, trying to find like that really sweet spot in the sand where you aren't struggling as much. And I'd say that the majority of our group found that this was one of the harder segments of the hike for that reason, which is interesting. I didn't feel quite the same way. I'm not sure why. That challenge wasn't the same for me. None of us really were happy with our footwear. We changed into our sandals, especially when we got to the Carmanah Creek, and it's basically a wide delta there. And we thought that we could just continue along the beach in our sandals, but found that didn't really help, and maybe all the extra grit was causing another issue. We tried our bare feet for a little bit and that didn't work, and in the end we ended up stopping and putting our hikers back on. We stopped at Bonilla Point. There is a lovely waterfall here. We thought, let's enjoy the scenery and have some snacks before heading onwards. Bonilla Point was a beautiful campground back in 2019 and remained the same way in 2023. If you have the opportunity to camp here, I highly suggest it over Walbran. It's not far from there, and you're just going to get so much more. I think there's a lovely waterfall, the outhouses are there, and it's tucked away from the beach and not as busy as Walbran. After this, we hit Vancouver Point, which is known for its chimney stack rocks, and we saw several bald eagles in this area.
Is that Astro?
There he is. You got him.
Oh, what handsome guy.
Hello. Hi there, Mr. Crab.
Hey, a little bit.
It was near the chimney stacks that we saw some more whales, as well as a lot of fishing boats, which was a sign that we were getting closer to the end of our hike and towards Port Renfrew. Soon after here, we made it to Walbran Creek. I was really surprised when we reached Walbran Creek because in 2019, we actually had to wait for the tide to go down so that we could ford the river or the creek and continue northbound to Carmanah Lighthouse. This time round, there must have been some storms in between 2019 and our arrival that pushed a whole bunch of rocks up over the creek and cut off the former swimming hole that led into the ocean. So we were able to walk right into camp. The swimming hole was still there, but now occupied by a lot of seagulls, though some of us still took a swim there. Back in 2019, in the middle of the night, I was awoken to rats scurrying around tents. This time round, no rats. It wouldn't be a surprise to let you know that we were the first ones into camp. The log maze that had led to the bear boxes and the outhouses back in 2019 remained, possibly even more of a maze than before. As the afternoon wore on, we began to see some familiar faces from the southbound travelers and some new ones going northbound. This is Walbran. That night after the sunset, the fog rolled in, and when we were in our tents, we could hear the sound of water falling from the sky, that I would call rain, but others would argue that that was just heavy fog. Nonetheless, in the morning, our tents were quite wet for the first time since we set out on our West Coast Trail journey. Thank you for watching Torch Hours. I always appreciate it. And if you have any questions, you're always welcome to ask in the comments or send me a message through Instagram at Torch Hours.